people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
The undisputed super featherweight champion of the world, Alalshikh, the Baumgardner.
That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Just a little reminder from none other than Alalshikh Baumgardner herself, the still reigning undisputed super featherweight champion in 40 days, 39 now since this post was made yesterday. She will be returning to action in her first fight since that infamous anti-doping fiasco. She will be facing her mandatory challenger via the WBC, Delphine Persoon, a former champion herself. Used to be WBC lightweight champion for a number of years at 135 pounds, now campaigning as a contender at 130, 39 years old. 9 years older than Alalshikh Baumgardner, who's very spry, 30 years old. They're both orthodox fighters. Both fighters lead with their left in order to set up their right. Delphine Persoon is a little taller and a little longer, the more statuesque fighter of the two, registered as standing in at 5'9", where Alalshikh is a very modest, very compact 5'6". What caught my attention is that via BoxRec, the only title that seems to be on the line is the WBC title. And I don't know if that's a clerical error on BoxRec's end, or are the other titles going to be on the line?
Why wouldn't they be? Alicia's still undisputed, isn't she?
And if Delphine is about to fight her, the assumption is that the other titles will be on the line. Not just the WBC that mandated this fight, but the WBA, the WBO, and the IBF. I just don't know. Alalshikh sports a record, a professional record of 15 wins with 1 loss, no draws, 7 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 16 professional bouts. She's been out a while, over a year.
Are we going to see ring rust?
It's a distinct possibility. Delphine Persoon, the more experienced fighter of the two with more fights and more rounds in the bank, sports professional record of 49 wins with 3 losses, no draws, 19 knockouts, having been knocked out once in 52 professional bouts, and that was many, many years ago.
It's ancient history now.
Having last seen action in November of last year opposite the ring, Agustina Belen Rojas, she won a unanimous decision. She fought 2 times last year, once in May, then again in November.
Alicia fought 2 times too.
Alalshikh Baumgardner managed to squeeze in 2 fights too, a fight with Elham Mekhaled at the beginning of the year, then the rematch with Cristina Linardatu, but it's been over a year since the rematch with Cristina Linardatu, so there is a distinct possibility that we're going to see some ring rust. There are going to be moments where she looks human. Under more ideal circumstances, after the Linardatu fight, Alalshikh had enough time left last year that if she weren't all tied up with that anti-doping fiasco, she had time to squeeze in a 3rd fight, but she was all wrapped up with that. Now it's clear, she's in the clear, and she's ready to go. She can fight.
It's not going to be on DAZN. It's going to be on some network called Brinks that I'm really not familiar with.
Going head-to-head with the Michaela Mayer versus Sandy Ryan fight happening that same day at that same time.
I think more people are going to end up watching that fight than this one because more people are familiar with ESPN than Brinks.
And we actually know who's on the undercard of that fight. Bruce Carrington, Xander Zayas.
The undercard for Alicia's fight isn't set.
We don't know who else is boxing on that show. BoxRec doesn't show anybody, just Alalshikh and Delphine. So it's not an encouraging omen. It's not a good sign.
I don't think it is.
Now the fight itself, the fight between Alalshikh and Delphine, it's a fascinating fight of contrasting styles, because most of the time Alalshikh has the look of a pure boxer, where Delphine Persoon has the look of a pressure fighter, a come-forward volume puncher. And usually, that stylistic matchup, the pressure fighter gets the best of the pure boxer.
By forcing the issue.
As most pure boxers fight on the balls of their feet, they don't really sit on their punches, so they don't land with much authority. And pure boxers, they don't usually throw that much within a round. They're not that busy. They're not that active. It's only 1 or 2 punches at a time on the move.
They're defensively minded, so they don't open up that much.
And in a very general sense, most pure boxers, most, though not all, but most, are not fluid fighters, mid-range to inside. That proximity, being close to the opponent and letting punches go, it makes most pure boxers uncomfortable.
And that's where Alalshikh Baumgardner is unique. That's where she stands apart from most pure boxers. Where most are uncomfortable in the pocket, she's not. She can actually handle herself in the pocket in spots.
Where else she stands apart is that she actually generates good power, coming forward or moving lateral, moving backwards.
She's got power. A lot of pure boxers don't, but she does.
I think the best way to describe Alalshikh Baumgardner is a fighter that's somewhere in between the pure boxer and the boxer puncher.
Somewhere in between those two base styles. Most of the time she looks like a pure boxer. Most of the time, but not always.
So where things will get interesting is that Delphine Persoon, more likely than not, is going to be the aggressor, and Alalshikh is going to be the defender. Delphine is going to step into her punches, charge Alalshikh Baumgardner, and it will be up to Alalshikh to create space, keep distance, and get punches off, punches out.
The question.
I don't doubt that Alalshikh is going to land, and land hard on Delphine Persoon. How will Delphine take her power? Does Alalshikh have enough power to get Delphine's respect?
Because if she doesn't, Delphine's going to keep coming after her. Every minute of every round.
Now the question that needs an answer is, how is Alalshikh's gas tank, her engine, the fast pace that Delphine likes to set for a fight, how is that going to wear on Alalshikh's energy reserves? She has a lot of musculature, and that many more muscles eat up that much more oxygen within a fight that tires a fighter out.
Will Alalshikh tire? Will she be able to keep up?
She may be 9 years younger than Delphine Persoon, but Delphine Persoon stays in character. She is a characteristically busy fighter within a round, within a fight, whereas Alalshikh is normally more economic.
Ring rust.
She may be 9 years younger than Delphine Persoon, but she hasn't seen action in over a year, whereas Delphine has fought within the last 12 months.
It's intriguing.
And I'm looking forward to it. We'll see if Alalshikh Baumgardner, off over a year of inactivity, can stay champion, or will Delphine upset her?
Usurp the super featherweight titles.
Let's talk more about the fight as the fight date approaches. Men's super middleweight news. On the heels of Christian Mbilli's decision win this past weekend over Sergey Derevyanchenko, does he emerge as Canelo's next opponent? Rising star Christian Mbilli sends a message. In the world of boxing, drama is never in short supply, and Saturday night was no exception. Christian Mbilli, the rising star with a perfect record, put on a masterclass against the battle-worn Sergey Derevyanchenko at the Videotron Center in Quebec City. The 28-year-old Mbilli handed Derevyanchenko a brutal 10-round unanimous decision loss, further solidifying his place as a force to be reckoned with in the super middleweight division. But as the dust settled, one question loomed large. Would Canelo Alvarez dare to face this new contender? Timothy Bradley, always unfiltered, didn't mince words when he suggested that Canelo might be steering clear of Mbilli after witnessing the one-sided beatdown. Mbilli, now boasting a spotless 28-0 record with 23 knockouts, has his sights set on the Mexican superstar. But it's not just about the win Mbilli's performance against a seasoned veteran like Sergey.
It's not just that he won, but how he won and how he fought.
Sent shockwaves through the boxing world. Canelo, who's been the king of the ring, may have just found a reason to avoid this hungry challenger. Is it that way, in the way that Timothy Bradley says, that Canelo is steering clear of this guy and he doesn't want any parts of him? In truth, I don't think Canelo knows who the man is.
Sorry, but I don't think Canelo even knows who Mbilli is to avoid him.
Thus, the idea that he's avoiding a guy who isn't so much as a blip on his radar, it seems preposterous to me, but such is the position that Canelo has left himself in. He has left himself open to criticism because he's fighting Edgar Berlanga instead of David Benavidez. There are a lot of people that are angry about that.
People who feel that Canelo's the boss, he calls the shots. And if he wanted to fight David, he'd be fighting David. That you don't end up opposite the ring Edgar Berlanga unless you want to be opposite the ring Edgar Berlanga.
They don't like that fight, and because they don't like that fight, they channel their anger by criticizing Canelo, claiming he's avoiding William Skull. In this instance, claiming he's avoiding Christian Mbilli. Though Christian Mbilli isn't waiting around. he's already planning to crash Canelo's title defense against Edgar Berlanga on September 14th at the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas. The goal? To get in front of the cameras, put Canelo on notice, and let the fans apply the pressure. But let's be realistic. Canelo's not known for making decisions based on public pressure, and there's no guarantee that he'll give Mbilli the shot that he craves.
So let's get a few things clear. Do I think Christian Mbilli is a better fighter than the fighter that Canelo is about to fight?
Yes, I think Christian is a more formidable fighter by and large than Edgar Berlanga. I do.
Do I think Christian can give Canelo a better fight than Edgar?
Yes, I do. But what I don't think is that Canelo is avoiding him because I don't think Canelo knows who the man is.
Sorry.
I think he knows as much about Mbilli as he knew about William Skull, and he said it himself. He never heard of the guy. I don't think he's heard of Mbilli either.
Billy plans on crashing his party, attending his fight, and putting public pressure on him to face him.
Though being honest, there is nothing so intense or so unique about Christian Mbilli's pressure fighting style that Canelo Alvarez can't deal with it, or Canelo hasn't seen it before. He literally just saw it in Jaime Munguia. Stylistically, it's literally the same fight.
Boxer puncher versus pressure fighter.
Some people confuse Canelo Alvarez for a pressure fighter because he likes to come forward, tucked behind that high guard, putting pressure on the other guy. But he's only doing that to bait the guy to throw so he can counter what he throws. At his heart, Canelo's a boxer puncher, a counter puncher, whereas Christian's a lot more straightforward. He's a pressure guy, a volume guy, and you know exactly what he wants to do.
The giveaway.
The vast majority of pressure fighters are very prolific within a round. They're busy within a round. They throw a lot of punches, whereas Canelo doesn't throw a lot of punches. He does a lot of punch picking.
That's how you know he's not a pressure fighter.
He doesn't have a pressure fighter's work rate. And unlike a pressure fighter, Canelo's not limited to just coming forward and throwing punches and bunches. No, you remember the first Golovkin fight. He was on his bike, moving lateral, staying on the perimeter of the ring.
Canelo is not a pressure fighter.
Now, at times, he may look like a pressure fighter. Maybe he borrows one or two characteristics from a pressure fighter, but he really isn't a pressure guy himself. Christian Mbilli is, and that's why he's tailor-made for Canelo. Everything you saw Canelo do to Jaime, he would also do to Christian Mbilli. Catch and counter out of the high guard, pick his punches.
Slow him down.
This past weekend, you saw a 38-year-old Sergey Didivianchenko consistently interrupt Christian Mbilli's momentum by putting short punches in there.
You don't think Canelo can do that?
You saw Sergey get short jabs in there, interrupting, disrupting Christian Mbilli's momentum, his rhythm, short jabs, uppercuts, little hooks here and there.
You don't think Canelo can do that?
Did a good job of consistently disrupting Christian's rhythm so that it's not all one-way traffic within a round. And I happen to think Canelo can do better, much better, a lot better than that, and do the damage that Sergey was unable to do.
I think Canelo would beat Christian. I think he should fight him.
I think Canelo, having done business with Matchroom, having done business with the PBC, should next do business with Top Rank and ESPN. That's the one platform he hasn't fought on.
And the one outfit he hasn't done business with.
That if he knocks out Edgar Berlanga, and I think he's going to, the next logical step, if you're not fighting Crawford and you're not fighting David, would be to fight Christian.
It's a credible scalp, just as, if not more credible than the guy you're about to fight.
This guy's a better fighter than Edgar Berlanga, so if you beat him, it's a more credible win. I wouldn't mind seeing it. Canelo versus Mbilli.
Make the fight.
And finally, in men's heavyweight news, per Boxing Insider Rick Lacier, Turki Alalshikh has offered Deontay Wilder a last-chance fight with Derek Chisora, who's coming off that big win over Joe Joyce in a fight that he was favored to lose. It should come with a loser-must-retire clause in both Wilder and Chisora's bout contracts. I think that would definitely add to the importance for both fighters, though at its very best, it's an undercard fight. If you're talking about Wilder versus Chisora as part of Riyadh's season, that would be on an undercard because that is not a main event. Not at this point, not with Deontay Wilder having only won one fight in the last 5 years.
Literally one fight.
He lost to Tyson Fury in 2020, lost to him again in 2021, beat Robert Helenius in 2022, then lost to Joseph Parker and got knocked out by Zhilei Chang.
To me, he's finished.
He's done. Tyson Fury took the air out of those tires a long time ago. The demoralizing beatings that he suffered in the second fight, in the third fight, took away Wilder's fighting spirit. He resorted to taking psychedelic, psychotropic mushrooms to embark on a vision quest, a spiritual journey to reach some kind of catharsis from the internal turmoil that he was experiencing when all it really was is you thought you were the bee's knees. You drunk your own Kool-Aid and believed your own hype, and Tyson Fury brought you down to earth. What's hard to deal with is that you did all this to yourself.
You are the architect of this disaster.
You never had to give Tyson Fury that opportunity. You never had to give him a title shot. You only did that as an alternative to the Anthony Joshua fight that you really didn't want, and it surprises me still that people have debates about this. Why didn't that fight happen? Why didn't it materialize then?
It's really the Wilder fans, what remains of them, as there are not many left, who don't want to see the forest through the trees. They don't want to let it go, and they don't want to admit everything that happened to Wilder is Wilder's fault, because you could have fought Anthony, but you chose to fight Fury.
They can't admit it, even though Wilder himself admitted it via his own social media. And even after all the dust settled from all of that, and Wilder managed to get himself back in the winner's bracket, there was still a chance that he could fight Anthony on Turki Alalshikh's dime.
All he had to do was beat Joseph Parker.
That if he would have held up his end of the bargain, like Anthony held up his end of the bargain, Turki was going to make that fight. And once again, Wilder faltered. Once again, Wilder's not who people thought he was.
Any hopes to see in that fight, and it still being as big, anywhere near as big as it could have been, died in the Parker fight.
He was thoroughly outfought, bullied by Joseph Parker, known as one of the more polite heavyweights in the postmodern era. Who would have thought that little old Joseph's got more dog in him than Big Bad Bronze Bomber?
Wow.
Give him another opportunity against Big Bang Zhang, and he got banged. He got knocked out. So now they're offering him a last chance fight with Derek Chisora. This is a fight that was talked about years ago. Believe it or not, Deontay Wilder and Derek were supposed to have fought a very long time ago. It didn't happen. Stylistically, I think if Derek would have got that fight then, he would have beat Wilder then. Oh yeah, stylistically.
What?
Derek Chisora likes to barrel forward at a slight crouch, bending at the waist, bending at the knees, chin tucked, shooting looping shots, looping overhand rights, whereas Wilder, the taller, slinkier fighter of the two, with poor balance and poor coordination.
Derek would force Wilder to have to punch down to hit him, which would leave that side of his face exposed for looping right hands. If Derek would have fought him then, I think Derek would have beat him.
And now?
Well, Derek's lost a step, but then again, so has Deontay Wilder. Stylistically, it would be a slower version of what we saw late last year with Joseph Parker. This would be a slower version of that.
But stylistically, it's the same fight, and Wilder might lose it for the same reasons. He's going to try to hang back to set up a counter.
Though not having the same speed and reaction time that he used to, he may not get it off. He may not land it. And if he doesn't, he'll be open for Derek's combinations, Derek's looping right hand.
They're both up there in age and both have been around the block, though you must admit that here today, Derek's doing better than Wilder.
Beat Gerald Washington, he beat Joe Joyce.
He might beat Deontay Wilder if they make it, though, off that violent knockout to Zhilei Chang. Does Wilder even want to keep fighting?
I don't think he does.
And if he does, then you know he's brain damaged, because I don't think he has anything left to give to the sport of boxing. I think his fighting spirit has been beaten out of him in these demoralizing losses that he suffered.
I think he's finished.